Right now, we actually have a musician who is part of that split. He's in the band Cemetery Filth, Matt Kilpatrick. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm really glad to have you on today because I have to tell you, I reviewed it. I've been talking about it. It is really a slamming four-band split. I'm telling you, Four Doors to Death. I mean, we're just going to dive right into this. We're going to open the door because what you guys, all the bands do on this, is really awesome.
Yeah, man, it's a really awesome concept. I'm glad that it's really come to be and that it turned out so well.
Yeah, and to begin, Unspeakable Axe Records. When did Cemetery Filth kind of first get in contact, and when was this kind of set? You know, the whole idea of getting all these four bands together. If you can give us a little time frame there.
Well, okay. We actually met Eric of Unspeakable Axe Records at our first show, which was Mountains of Madness Fest in Johnson City, Tennessee. That's actually technically the band's hometown. And he came up to sort of sell his stuff at the fest, and he came up with the Shards of Humanity guys. They had just been signed, and their CD had just been released through them. And we met him and talked to him then, and right after that, I was talking to the guys. I was like, we should really send him a demo because I don't think he got one at the concert. So I sent him one. When I send it to some people, I like to do it old school, and I like to write out a handwritten letter, and sometimes I'll draw like a cool picture at the bottom. And I did that, and it caught his attention, and he was really into us, and he wanted to put out the EP on tape, so we did that with him. And things have gotten better and better. And probably right after the tape was released, I started talking to him about, how our next thing, we want to do a split. And I mean, he and I are both really into the old school stuff and the old compilations, the old split releases. And we're like, we should do something like that, something that hasn't been done in a while, taking, a new turn on an old concept. And that's how it kind of came to be. And in regards to the bands on it, we talked to a few different bands. A lot of them just didn't think they could time frame. And of course, the time frame got delayed extensively. But things really came out well. Trench Rot, Eric just knows those guys so well from just being on Unspeakable Axe. I know those guys pretty well as well. We played with Crypt Sermon in Philly this summer, and it features a few of those dudes.
All right.
And Sabotory, we just met through Eric as well, and those guys are great. And Ectovoid, we know just because they're from the South, and we've played quite a few shows with them. They're good buds of mine.
Yeah, I was going to say about Trench Rot, their first album was an album that I also reviewed. I remember when it came out. Was that Necronomic Warfare? Unbelievable release. I mean, that's kind of like when I saw Trench Rot, that was the one band I recognized. So right away I'm thinking, okay, with school and work, I have a hard time trying to get all the reviews out there and, bands to listen to. So I kind of have to, narrow it down. And when I saw Trench Rot, that kind of, helped me sift through. And then once I heard the other three bands, I was like, well, I feel like I've heard of Sabotory. I hadn't heard of Ectovoid and Cemetery Filth. And I have to say, you two were probably the bands that really just surprised me.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome, man.
With the old school sound. I liked how... Because, a lot of bands try too hard, I feel. It just came naturally. The whole split, each band, you could tell they love the music, and, they just put it out there. You guys really just have fun with this. And that's why I think it sounds so solid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of the bands, I can only speak for the Cemetery Filth guys, but I feel like most of the guys on this split are just fans of the music. I don't think that we sell ourselves as musicians as we just sort of sell ourselves as just immense fans of the music that just love it, love old school death metal, love the vibe and energy and how it's not formulaic or crafted at all. It's just like it's an eruption of pure energy.
Yeah, and you can definitely hear that out of the song. I mean, this isn't the one that you have released yet, but I have to still talk about it. I'm going to get people maybe upset because they haven't heard it. But when I heard this song, I couldn't stop. It was so damn awesome. I'm talking Digonian Dialect, the Obelisk, because, again, H.P. Lovecraft inspired. That's what I like. That's stuff I enjoy. And then the way it was just set up, it had this kind of... It was very doomy to me at times. That's what I really liked. That kind of haunting, slow, and then you build it up. Just... That's clever to me.
We love that song too. It's the only real one of our songs that has a direct tie into like one of Lovecraft's stories. It's sort of a sequel to the story Dagon, and it was a fun concept that Ryan, the guitarist in the band, kind of came up with, and he told me about it. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! Let's do it!" And we wrote it, and the song came out way better than we imagined. David Prey of Haunting and Living Decay, two other death metal bands down here, he actually helped us like fix the ending, and like the ending wouldn't be what it is without him. So we were glad to have his input on that.
Yeah, the ending's pretty damn epic. I'm telling you, that's the one song I really wish I could play because that's been released. I wish that was like the single. But then again, right now, how can I deny consumption of Volition, because you've got a great guest musician who's on that album. I mean, or that song, excuse me, that's really good. You got David Ingram, and that too is just another just blazing track. Kind of talk about that one again. Is just simply brutal.
Yeah, I mean that was when we started writing that one. It sort of came out really cool. That chorus riff Neil kind of came up with based on one of my riffs, and it was just sort of. It took off from there. We were like, oh my God, it sounds like an old Pestilence riff. Like, we got to go with this. And we went with it. And I don't know. That song is definitely, I would say, our most vicious. And it's something that we seem to keep it at the beginning of the set because a lot of people really get into it. It's a good way to start the flow of the songs.
Yeah, that's a good idea, I think, actually. That song I would see is something to get people, going crazy.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to ask you about, for you, as you are the vocalist in this band, but you also play guitar in another band, right? Death of Kings.
Yeah, I play guitar in Death of Kings. I actually originally started playing guitar in Cemetery Filth. I was doing guitar and vocals. Oh, and I left the band temporarily about a year ago, actually, and because I moved from the Johnson City, Asheville area, Atlanta, Georgia, which is my hometown. And I didn't want to hold the guys back by moving down here. And so I left the band temporarily. They got another vocalist. There was, creative differences, and they sort of split, and they asked me to come back as a vocal-only frontman because they'd already found another guitarist. So we've kind of morphed into a five-piece, and I've just been doing vocals, but every now and then, if a member can't make it to a show, I'll pick up guitar or something, and we'll play guitar. Like, we recently opened for Monstrosity and Hellwitch in Miami, and I played guitar at that show because our bassist couldn't make it, and our other guitar player took on bass.
Okay, so you guys are able to work around it, with each other as musicians. That's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to ask, for you specifically, influences, because, you do play guitar and, you're also the vocalist, so maybe throw out a couple different people, or is there multiple kind of influences when it comes to, your style of playing or how you approach vocals? Because that's something I'm always interested in with singers, when you first start out trying to sing, in the old school or, the death growl form, what kind of gets you inspired, or, who do you kind of look up to, figure out, how you want to go about singing like that?
Well, I mean, something about death growls that I've heard from a lot of vocalists is you can't force it. You have to do your own style, whatever comes naturally. Like, a lot of us, I'm sure, would like to sound different. I always loved stuff like, Barney Greenway and the classic Napalm Death stuff. David Ingram, of course, that sort of evil barking style that Cam Lee sort of pioneered. But I can't really do it that well. So I try and I can't really do it that well. My biggest influence as a whole, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's Chuck Schuldiner. When I was really young and first really getting into metal, I found Death. This was probably 2004 or 5, and his attitude towards playing just really sort of took me by storm because I've been used to all these thrash musicians that, grew up playing music and, like, knew a lot of theory and stuff, and Chuck knew nothing of that. He would just sort of play by ear and, like, learn the guitar in his own mind. And that sort of influenced me, and I always loved his vocals. I guess his vocals are a big influence. I always loved Martin Van Drunen, on the Pestilence album, Consuming Impulse in particular. He literally sounds like he was set on fire in the recording booth. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And John Tardy of Obituary is just so unreal, man. Like, his vocals sound like a fucking beast. And I mean, a lot of the old school guys. I guess those two guys I get compared to a lot. Those two guys and early David Vincent of Morbid Angel is what I hear a lot about my vocals, and that's extremely. I mean, I'm very humble, and like that's awesome to hear. Like I'm glad people like my vocals and can compare them to that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you have to be doing something guys, right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, just old school guys in general. I wish I could do like the Frank Millen deep thing. Sometimes I'll throw in like a Jeff Walker snarl from Carcass.
Yeah, that's always a cool way to add something to the songs, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to ask because, too, here, this is really, I think, talking about influences and all these, death metal bands you're mentioning. Cemetery Filth, I saw, it was like the first thing on your page when I looked at even, I think it's your profile picture. You're going to be playing with Deicide. That is
man, we are
a pretty big deal, I'm sure, for if you guys, are fans of Deicide, getting to open for them. That's sick.
Yeah, we are beyond honored to be doing that. Laura Black Death of the Funeral Directory, a radio show out here in Tennessee, hooked that up for us, and it's such an honor, man. I mean, Deicide are great. They're definitely one of the big names in death metal, and it's just going to be so cool to not only see them live but also share a stage with them.
So that's just in Tennessee. You're not going to be touring that, because I'm telling you, a lot of fans right now in the Bay Area here that would probably love to have Cemetery Filth, Deicide, and then throw some of our local talent on there too. I mean, that would be a killer show.
Oh, yeah, it would be. The West Coast has so many great bands. I wish we could tour with Deicide. I mean, guys have other plans. And
I don't think they're making a West Coast date at all.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, they come around, though. The bands definitely do, their legs and stuff, so we'll catch them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you guys, because of that, I was going to ask, about scenes, it's so different when it comes to geographical areas. Here in the Bay Area, we are known for the thrash. We do have, the death metal that's, persisted through the years, sludge bands too, But I was going to ask you, for where you've been, how has the scene been like, and how's it grown? Or has it just kind of, maintained itself over the years as you've been a part of it?
There's definitely a strong underground scene in the Southeast in general. Johnson City, where we're from, is a very small town mountain region, so there's not a lot of guys that are really into the old school and underground stuff. That said, we do get really good turnouts at shows, and the local scene is really into us. And we've had so much support from our hometown, which is fantastic. Johnson City is really a cool town for what it is. It's tiny, but there's a lot of kids there who really love good metal. One of the reasons why I actually moved back down to Atlanta is because I miss going to shows and seeing a lot of local talent. The Atlanta scene is just awesome. It's had its ups and downs, but bands like Death of Kings and Sadistic Ritual, which is an awesome thrash band on Unspeakable Axe Records.
They are. And, I mean, that EP they put out recently was killer.
Yeah, those guys are great friends of mine. I love them. There's so much variety down here. You got doom bands, you got thrash bands, you got heavy metal bands, you got kind of almost glam metal bands, not in a bad way. They still write good music, but I mean, all sorts of stuff. And the Southeast in general is great. Birmingham has a good scene. Florida has an impeccable scene, as the legends tell. Yes. And it's North Carolina has some great stuff too. Suppressive Fire from Raleigh are an awesome new thrash band. I mean, there's acts all over the place, and it's kind of cool. Like we're all kind of separated, but we still maintain shows with each other pretty often.
That's good. I mean, it just sounds like there's so much going down there. I mean, yeah, the bands you're mentioning, I've heard of, and it's just so cool that it's in that region, giving the people something. Yeah,
it is, because I mean, 10 years ago, growing up in Atlanta, I mean, even for Atlanta, arguably the biggest city in the Southeast, like, I rarely ever saw anybody wearing metal shirts, nobody with long hair. I felt so alone for a long time. And the scene sort of exploded. It seems like our generation, heard the right music, and all of a sudden people were really into it, and they finally found their passion in metal. And it's really grown. It's fantastic.
All right. So the last question here, you got the split coming out. Is there going to be a full length possibly in the future, or is it just focused on the split? and then maybe, you know, as you guys kind of get together a little more, play some shows, eventually a year or two, you guys have like a full-length album out?
No, a full length is definitely in the works.
Oh, okay.
We've got some good song ideas going. Nothing completed yet, but it is our big goal for 2016. Maybe not to get it out, but at least to have it fully written and start the recording process by the end of next year. And we're doing a split with Suicide sometime, and I guess sometime early next year, hopefully, maybe summer. And that we're excited about that, but that'll probably only be one song and a cover. And but the full length is definitely our goal, and we're really excited about it because we've got the creative juices flowing again.
Yeah, dude. All right, it's sounding great. I'm really telling you, the work ethic put into this, and again, the passion for the metal, Matt. I just cannot wait to hear what other new music you have, you know. But right now, you know, I will enjoy the songs I do, and I'm telling everybody listening right now, if you want some solid, it doesn't, you know, it's not going to let you down, people. It's going to kick your ass no matter what. Death metal, Cemetery Filth. Just really good stuff. So, Matt Kilpatrick, thank you for calling in today, dude, and talking metal with me here on the Hard Rock and Heavy Metal Zone.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rob. Thank you for everything.
All right, take it easy, dude.
You too, man. Thanks.